Seeing some burying beetles, right? And you guys are going to actually help us out with a burying beetle release right here on the Wilds property. But before we do that, we thought that you guys should know a little bit more about the American burying beetle. Okay? We work with the American burying beetles here at the Wilds, and they are a fairly large beetle. It is the largest carrion beetle in North America. It's about the size of your thumb. It is black with orange markings, and it was actually the first insect placed on the endangered species list.
Why is it endangered?
I'll let you know that in a minute. That's a good question.
So
So what is a carrion beetle? Does anybody know what a carrion beetle is?
an animal, well, a bug that eats dead animals.
Yeah, a bug that eats dead animals. Okay, so they're scavengers, so kind of like a vulture. They'll eat dead animals. And then they need animals that are about the size of maybe a chipmunk or even a pigeon in order to feed on. Okay, so they need some bigger animals, maybe about the size, a little bit larger than my fist, maybe 2 fists or something like that. So fairly large animals compared to the size of these beetles that are about how big? About the size of your thumb. Right. So what do they do with that dead animal? Well, they're American burying beetles, right? So they bury it, of course. So they're going to bury this animal. And then the female beetle, so the girl, she's going to lay her eggs right in a separate tunnel from where she buried either the bird or the chipmunk or whatever it is that they're going to eat. So she's going to lay her eggs there. And when the eggs hatch, both of the parents, both the boy and the girl, the mom and the dad, they will feed and take care of the young. And with most insects, they don't usually do that. But what these beetles will do, and here's a picture of their young right here. What they'll do is they'll actually start to eat that dead animal. And then they are going to throw up in their baby's mouths. And feed them that way. Kind of like what?
Kind of like birds.
Kind of like birds, yeah. That's exactly how birds feed their babies too. Okay, so that's how these American burying beetles are also going to feed their babies. So here's a close-up picture. I know it's absolutely beautiful. To get a close-up picture of those American burying beetle larvae. They are, they're adorable. But here's a short video of the American burying beetle, and this was done by the St. Louis Zoo, which is also working with American burying beetles. So it says that it's named for the practice of burying its food. Hold on, it needs to load up a little bit here. So you can see that this beetle is starting to bury. Now this beetle has already buried its carrion, and now they're going into their little kind of cave.
Man cave. Yes, they man and woman. I did not let her get one man cave. It's the man.
And so this is saying that they use a special chemical receptor on their antenna. So you see how they have those orange antennae on the top of their heads? Those actually have receptors on them, and what those receptors do is they find dead animals. And they can find dead animals within 2 miles away. 2 miles to find a dead animal. And then the male, the dad, he will drag that animal and then bury it. And then that's when the female will lay her eggs, and then the eggs will hatch. So their historical range, the American burying beetle was once found in 35 states, and it's most of those states that are in the eastern part of the United States. And it was also found in parts of Canada. And so as you can see from this map right here, this green line is the range where the American burying beetle used to be. So it's no longer found in all of that range. It's only found in 4 states now.
Oh, wow.
I'll show you where. How did they become endangered? It could be possibly due to light pollution. What is light pollution?
Too much lights in the air.
Go ahead, David. Yeah, too much light. Where's this light coming from? From the cities, or even just the lights that we have on in our houses? How many of you have a porch light at home?
I do.
Yeah, do you leave it on all night?
No.
No? Well, that's good that you don't, but some people do. Have you ever seen somebody leaving their porch light on at night?
Yeah.
then we have street lights and everything else. And that light pollution can cause problems with these beetles because they are nocturnal. What does nocturnal mean? Yeah, they're awake at night, right? And so if there's a lot of light, then they think it's what time? Daytime, yeah. So that can really affect these beetles in that way. It may be due to a change in the carrion species. And what's carrion again? Dead animals. Okay. For example, the loss of the passenger pigeon. The passenger pigeon was actually one of the most plentiful birds, and then it went extinct. And it's thought that maybe the passenger pigeon was one of the animals that the American burying beetle liked to feed on. So if that animal goes extinct, then what do you think is going to happen with that animal? Yeah, the food, it messes up the food chain.
How did the passenger pigeon actually go extinct?
The passenger pigeon went extinct due to a lot of pesticides. Yep, we don't use pesticides anymore. That's very good. And hunting. So the passenger pigeon went extinct, and that was something that maybe the American burying beetle had fed on. Or isolated habitat due to human land use. So when we start to build our roads and build our houses, we start to break up animals' habitats. And we may have even started to break up the American burying beetle's habitat enough where they couldn't find the food that they needed to survive. But now American burying beetles are only found in Nebraska, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, and Arkansas. Nebraska is kind of in the middle of the country. Near south, it's south of South Dakota. So that's only 4 states compared to the 35 that there once were. Okay, so why are they important? We have a word cloud right here that has a variety of different words on it, and it's the shape of an American burying beetle. But there's a bunch of words that talk about why the American burying beetles are important. So what words do you see on here that might give an indication as to why they're important?
Healthy.
Yeah, healthy. Healthy is a great word. And there are a couple other words on here as to why they might make things healthy. Do you see anything that might be why they make them healthy? Yeah, they're a decomposer. And decomposers are animals that break down dead organic material. So they break down dead plants and dead animals. And they break it down, and then it goes into the soil, which can create healthy plants due to nutrients. It creates a clean environment for the animals that are around. So there's a variety of different things that these animals, or that the American burying beetles do help us out with, just because they are decomposers and break down dead things. Now, what is the Wilds doing to help? The Wilds breeds these animals as part of an AZA species survival plan, and the AZA is the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, and they use that species survival plan to create healthy populations of these insects. We also work with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Division of Wildlife, and the Ohio State University to reintroduce the American burying beetle to the state of Ohio. And that's what you guys are actually going to help us out with today, is to reintroduce the American burying beetle to the state of Ohio. So are you guys ready?
Yeah!
All right, let's head out then.
Well, and that's one of the reasons. The funny thing, we've been doing this for several years, both here at the Wilds, down at the Wayne National Forest, and a couple other places. This year, the first time, there's a site near Cincinnati called Fernald Preserve, where they did a release this year. The Cincinnati Zoo also breeds beetles for this project. The thing for us is we know that we get the beetles in the ground, and we know that in the fall we find new beetles that are coming up. So we know that the beetles hatch out and come out here. But what we've never had is we've never come back the next spring and found beetles the next spring. And so we don't know if they're just, they're going 2 miles to find a carcass, they're just too far away for us to find, or if they're not surviving. So one of these days, what we hope is in the springtime when we're trapping, we'll be able to find some of these beetles and to show that we're being really successful with this. Everybody get a chance to see?